An Empire of Ice and Fire by Longclaw 1-6, Chapter 62, Battle Plan. Sorry if I'm a bit quieter than normal, guys. The situation for my recording is a bit different today. Just as the bruises caused by Jaime Lannister's fingers had healed on his neck, Peter Baelish found newer ones undoubtedly being formed as Gregor Clegane hefted him into the air with little effort. His cheeks turned purple, gasping for breath.
"Should I kill him, All Highest?"
he asked of the king, sitting atop the Iron Throne.
"No!" Littlefinger choked out. "Please, Your Highest!"
At the slightest twitch of his fingers, Joffrey ordered Clegane to lower the man to the ground. Baelish sucked in breaths, frantically trying to fill his lungs. "Tell me, Baelish, why have you betrayed me?" Head pointed at the ground, Littlefinger knew he could not look upon the Chimera.
"I did not betray you, All Highest."
"Nonsense!" Pycelle, always the shifty little snake, knelt and pointed a gnarled finger at Littlefinger's way.
"He converted with the treasonous Sansa Stark. There must be some sort of grand conspiracy between him and the Stark bastard." "While I admire Pycelle's zealousness in rooting out treason, perhaps we should reserve judgment, sire."
Joffrey cast a look to the High Sparrow, close by his side. "Should we take grandfather's advice?" Though the look of displeasure at having his fate decided by a religious fanatic in a dirty shift made the High Sparrow shiver, he ignored Tywin Lannister and looked at the king.
"All Highest, the Seven are vengeful, but also have mercy. If Lord Baelish truly is innocent, let him bear himself before their chosen representative on this earth."
Mulling it over, Joffrey turned to look at his other trusted advisor, one fairly recent. "Sword, what do you think?" Daario Naharis was in the same posture. He hated debasing himself so, but it was necessary for his advancement.
"Let him speak. I'll kill him myself if I think he's lying."
That satisfied the king. "All right, Baelish. Proceed." Gulping, Baelish adjusted his collar before speaking. "All Highest, yesterday I received a dispatch from Lord Lyn Corbray." "Who the fuck is Lord Corbray?" It was Tywin that spoke up to his grandson.
"The Lord Paramount of the Vale, sire. His brave support of us in switching sides against Robb Stark at the Battle of the God's Eye allowed us to defeat them and capture Harrenhal from the Targaryens."
"Well, of course I knew that, grandfather," Joffrey shot back. "It was just at the top of my head. Stop making me look foolish." Tywin bit back his response, bowing slightly. Joffrey may have controlled here, but in the rest of Westeros, under their control, he was on top. "Continue, Lord Baelish."
"Lord Corbray relayed me a diplomatic message from Sansa Stark, Your Highest. She wishes to set up a parley at King's Landing between yourself and her brother and sister-in-law."
This caused murmurs to break out among the established councillors.
"Hand it here, Lord Baelish,"
said Qyburn, rising to take the message in his hand. Unfolding it, he read the fine penmanship of the Hand of the North.
"Joffrey Baratheon, claimant to the Iron Throne."
"Claimant!" Joffrey roared. Hushed whispers from the High Sparrow managed to calm him down enough to stay silent afterwards, but his flushed face was evident from beneath his veil. Qyburn continued.
"His Majesty the Emperor John requests a parley within the Dragon Pit of King's Landing to discuss a major concern. The Night King and the army of the dead bear down on the living world, and I wish to form a possible co-belligerency against them."
Qyburn trailed off, the rest being pleasantries. Ignoring the message for the moment, Joffrey's advisers focused initially on Littlefinger.
"Why would Sansa Stark contact you, being a loyal member of His Highest Small Council?"
asked the High Sparrow.
"Unless you were as Maester Pycelle described."
"No!" Littlefinger protested. "I assure you, All Highest, I am not. All I can infer is that as her uncle by marriage to her Aunt Lysa, she feels that I am the only one who would not toss any correspondence by her into the fireplace. That I would deliver it to you immediately, as any loyal subject would." The king didn't seem to care. "Night King? Army of the Dead? What the honest fuck are those?" He seemed genuinely perplexed. Had he cared at all about reading at his lessons as a child, Joffrey would have known the most basic legend of Westerosi antiquity.
Sire, Tywin began, the legend of the Long Night dates back thousands of years, to when the first men battled an army of corpses during winter blackness lasting many years.
Riotous giggles left Joffrey's lips, almost making him choke and spit. I swear, House Stark only sires idiots. He has a massive army, but instead of seeking glory of battle, he wants this horseshit. More giggles left him.
It may not be wise to underestimate our opponents, sire.
Scoffing, Joffrey turned to Tywin with an amused grin. Grandfather, do you honestly believe in an army of corpses prancing about like they were actually alive? Sounds more like a mad joke.
Aye, it does. But there is no drawback to parleying with the Stark bastard and the Dragon Queen. A powerful ruler such as yourself does not shirk from meeting his opponents, but seeks to intimidate them with his majesty. You must do so. Must inspect them and sense their weaknesses firsthand, or at least have one's grandfather do them. The thought was left unsaid by Tywin. If I may, All Highest,
Daario interjected once the Chimera's humour died down.
It is telling that it bears only his name, not the Dragon Queen's. There may be some sort of fracture within her command structure that we could exploit.
The fact that this may have been an intentional omission was lost on all present. Pursing his lips, Joffrey pondered it for a moment, before he offered a weak nod.
Do you honestly think that there could be some truth to this army of dead men? Randyll Tarly asked of Tywin as they left the audience chamber. It seems like some useless balderdash my pig of a son would convince us Stark of. But they have a claim to have a sample of a white.
Walking alongside his chief general, Tywin stroked the prickly stubble of his chin. A frown was chiselled into his face.
A world that allows for black magic could also allow far more.
Chills passed through his core, the words of the Red Witch coming to him once more. A battle in the snow. Fire billowing all around, where the fate of the world is decided. Haunting him, filling him with dread.
But it is my inclination that this is all a trick.
Randyll snorted. Starks don't engage in trickery and deceit. As with Ned Stark, they would rather die than stoop so low. But they both knew the truth. A secret only within the capital itself. A bubble sheltered from the outside world by the cult of personality revolving around Joffrey. Outside, believed on one side, but considered a rumour in the other. All had nevertheless heard it.
A Stark would, but a Targaryen wouldn't.
But would a Targaryen be bizarre enough to conceive of this? Tywin couldn't answer that question. Line break. Wishing his palm had been grasping an entire bottle of the strongest wine in the Seven Kingdoms, Tyrion Lannister was forced to proceed with the impromptu audience session sober. Well, only mostly sober, thank the gods.
Lords and ladies, please calm down.
In spite of his demonstrable loyalty to their monarchs, nearly all of the lords ignored him in favour of his female counterpart, blood being thicker than water in their estimation.
Is it true, my lady?
Lord Manderley asked, sweating despite the winter chill. Sansa frowned, crossing her arms. Yes, it is correct. 2 days following Robb and Marjorie's wedding, Jon had announced to all that they were riding for Riverrun on the double, and he and Dany taking the dragons along with Barristan and Selmy, of all people, Catelyn Stark. What Jon indicated what path to follow. Even she had been shocked. We are seeking an audience with the usurper Joffrey Baratheon. It put a bad taste in her mouth. It was her brother's orders. Sansa was loyal to the Emperor. Edmure Tully, her own uncle and Lord Paramount of the Riverlands, spoke for the entire group.
Dearest niece, I realise that a united front in the face of the Long Night is preferable.
Everyone had seen the vicious beast caught north of the wall.
But the usurper is evil to his core. He would only stab us in the back, just as his allies have done so.
No one, except perhaps Robb, Sansa, or Catelyn, knew that more intimately than Edmure. Imprisoned for years, without his beloved wife or son by Walder Frey.
Please, Don't tell me that we're considering treating with him.
More than that, my lords. Taking a deep breath, the Hand of the North braced for the coming firestorm. I received a dispatch from Peter Baelish via the traitor Lord Hunter. Joffrey has agreed to a parley in the Dragon Pit of King's Landing in 2 weeks' time. It descended into predictable shouting and outrage.
Do not trust any of them, my lady, Lord Royce exclaimed, the loudest of them all. You know how devious Littlefinger is. There can be no compromise with the Lannisters.
Davos waded in, attempting to broker peace.
Now, hold on, my lords. No two people can agree completely on whether a given strategy is the best course to chart. But all of you swore an oath to Jon. He is the Emperor, protector of the realm and the ruler of the 7 kingdoms. If he meets with the Chimera, stated, face red with anger, then he has betrayed us.
As if by perfect timing, the door swung open. Ser Jorah held it open for the new arrival. Skirts of white woolen northern dress swishing on the stone floor, Empress Daenerys entered with a cold scowl on her face. Behind, just as intimidating, a figure through mystery rather than pure blood and fire, was the Red Witch Melisandre, smirk on her face. Tyrion, along with Sansa and Davos, immediately bowed. Her arrival was so sudden it took a moment of hesitation before the others did.
Your Highness,
the imps said respectively. Lord Tyrion, Lady Stark, Sir Davos, she replied with respect as well. Turning to the others, respect was replaced with a formal disdain. My lords and ladies, I was informed that as my subjects, you have arrived in Riverrun from your commands in the field to express disapproval with the strategy of the Crown. This is most disappointing to me. Her expression was cold, guarded, but her lilac eyes burnt a bright dragon fire. Adjusting his collar, Lord Edmure stepped forward as the tentative leader of the delegation of lords.
Your Highness, we are concerned as to the latest decision by your husband.
He is your Emperor, so you will show him the proper respect. Edmure began sweating.
Forgive me. The decision by His Majesty to treat with the usurper Joffrey.
Lips curling into a small smile, one that did not reach her eyes. I understand your concern. I do. But I ask, where is Lord Stark? Truly he shares your concerns with your Emperor's strategy. Shifting among each other, it was Lord Glover that spoke up.
He is in the field, Your Highness.
The smile widened, fire glowing in her eyes. Yes, Lord Robb Stark is carrying out the orders of his Emperor, not here squabbling like petulant children. Loyalty is valued, and while I shan't find imaginary vapours of treason as my father did, actual betrayal is not something I will tolerate. The temperature in the room was increasing substantially. While it cowed many, others still remained defiant. He refuses to inform us of his plans, thinking us obedient children that must be seen and not heard, fumed Alice Karstark, tone as fiery as her bright ginger hair. All he seems to confide in his guard and Barristan Selmy and Catelyn Stark. Need I forget she was the one who denied my family justice for my poor brother, killed by the Kingslayer? Dark eyes, fire and blood personified, found themselves trained on Lady Karstark, who flinched. Need I remind you, Lady Alice, that your other brother repaid his kin by taking up arms with Ramsay Bolton and Viserys Blackfyre against the Starks? You are here only out of the Emperor's generosity. But do not test mine. When no one answered, not even the 3 hands, all hanging back, Daenerys continued, Go back to your commands, lords and ladies, and pray that His Majesty does not find out about this. However, such is not your biggest worry. The mother of dragons that burnt Tigert Lannister alive was in full display. I am far less forgiving than he is. Several lords visibly gulped as the Dragon Empress brought her own iced fire and blood, leaving it just like that. Remaining behind, the Red Witch merely stood there, with that smirk on her face. The night is dark and full of terrors. So choose wisely, my lords and ladies." She then followed the Empress, leaving the room with fire and blood delivered. Steam rising from the cup, Missandei sat next to the drumming fingers of her Empress. "Hot tea, your Grace." Daenerys took the cup with a grateful nod. "Thank you, Missandei," she replied, the small smile on her lips not reaching her eyes. The Empress was quite distracted, her mind preoccupied with the meeting with the lords earlier, and the actions by her husband that caused it. Truth be told, while her tone had been firm and decisive, inwardly she was anything but at the moment. Jon's behaviour was unexplainable at the moment, and it disconcerted her. "You did well, Daenerys." Seated across from Daenerys, looking far more comfortable in the winter temperatures than either of the other three women, Sansa pursed her lips. "While I have no clue what Jon is doing either, the lords needed to be put in their place. Petty squabbling. As if Jon would actually betray us all at the Dragon Pit. Tuh!" She scoffed. The Dragon Pit, how fitting, Dany thought. The symbol of the decline of House Targaryen, hosting an event back to their rise of glory. Or whatever this was. "I don't understand," she murmured. "What could Jon possibly think this would serve?" Setting her hot drink down, Marjorie cast a sympathetic look to her new sister. Her demeanour was reviving as the morning sickness had passed, and the slight bump was visible under Lady Stark's dress. "With the threat of the Night King, perhaps he wants to try once more to convince at least some within the Lannister ranks to join the united front." A groan left Sansa's lips. "Joffrey will never negotiate. He'll never see reason." Tyrion once said, "We've had vicious kings. We've had idiot kings. But never have we had the misfortune of a vicious idiot before." Add a sense of grandiose narcissism, and that describes Joffrey. Hate burning in her eyes would rival a Targaryen. She deflated with an audible sigh. "We can get Lannisters to factors without this. So I can't fathom this. It is not just the proposed parley." Daenerys sipped at her drink, trying to let the searing liquid calm her. "It's everything Jon is doing. Constantly in the field, sending ravens and directing troop movements. He's planning something, but he refuses to tell me. Me!" "He hasn't told Robb either," Marjorie stated, missing her husband who was carrying out many of Jon's orders in the field. "Has he discussed it with you, sister?" she asked Sansa. The redhead shook her head. "No, neither I, Davos, nor Tyrion have gotten any reasoning behind it. Only Barristan and my mother." The ladies pondered that piece of knowledge. It was then that the door swung open. The ladies rose from their chairs as the Emperor strode in, black fur cloaks swirling behind him. He had been in a hurry to get back to his chambers and find solace in the embrace of his wife, based on the dark circles under his eyes and the haggard set of his jaw. Such was not the only thing the four women noticed. Jon had shaved. The short stubble and neatly trimmed moustache were all gone, dark curls of his hair let down around smooth skin. He looked so much younger. Not the grizzled warrior, but as the young man he was, thrust into a position beyond his years. Taking in his wife, sister, sister-in-law and handmaiden, Jon bowed politely. "Ladies." Sansa looked at Marjorie, catching the new Lady Stark's imperceptible nod. "We will leave you two to your rest. We shall return to our chambers." As Marjorie bade Jon goodbye, Sansa leaned into his ear. "Please, get some rest, brother." A kiss on his cheek followed before the hand of the North left the chambers. "It will be all right, your Grace," Missandei whispered to Dany, giving her a small smile. Dany smiled back, hoping she could believe her. After Missandei closed the door behind her, Dany walked into Jon's arms, breathing in his spicy northern scent. His heartbeat gave her such contentment, a means to ground her in such turbulent times. She looked up and reached to stroke his now bare cheek. "Why did you shave, my dragon wolf?" The skin felt so smooth and soft to the touch. But truth be told, Dany enjoyed the black stubble, how it teased and tickled her. Leaning into her loving touch, Jon sighed. "Just needed a change." In truth, he knew it would make him look younger, less experienced and powerful.
Do you not like it?
Danny smiled. You look handsome no matter what. Raising on her tiptoes, she brought their mouths together in a warm kiss. John returned it, wrapping his arms around her waist. Once it broke, he rested his forehead on hers. John, what are you? He shook his head.
Please, Danny. Please just trust me. I need you to trust me on this.
If she didn't, if he had to tell her, the plan would be ruined.
Please, Danny.
Taking in his breathless plea, the begging in his eyes, Danny kissed him once more. All right. Though her mind still swirled in confusion as to her husband's behaviour, his company, his secrecy, he had never proven himself untrustworthy. She took in his exhaustion. Let's go to bed, my love. Wrapping the warm sheets and goose-down blankets atop them, it wasn't long before Danny found their tight embrace turning into something more.
Danny,
he whispered against her ear, kissing it lightly. Yeah, she replied in a quiet murmur, wrapping tightly around his middle. Daenerys felt sleep taking a hold of her.
I love you.
He kissed her neck, feeling exhausted himself, the weight of the world on his shoulders.
Trust me.
Danny sighed contentedly. I love you too. And I do. She would never doubt him again. End of chapter. Hi guys, I hope you enjoyed that, and I'm sorry if it was a bit quieter than normal. There are situations with recording today because so many people are at home. And anyway, wow, okay, yeah. The lords are a bit discontent, stirring the pot a bit, John having to be mysterious. You'll see what his plan is in another few chapters. We'll be there soon. And all will be explained, I promise. But for now, well, I'll leave you on tenterhooks. See you in another video, my guys, gals, and non-binary pals. Make sure to check out the rest of them as well. And remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and hit that bell to get notified whenever I upload a new video. Have a good day, night, or whatever time zone you're in. Bye, my guys, gals, and non-binary pals. I'll see you in another video. Bye!